What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Xtra podcast. It is good to be back here with my boy Sean. Sean, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, this is going on hour number 2 of talking about Inter, but you guys will understand that probably in the afternoon of tomorrow after everything gets dropped. But no, it's good. I'm buzzing. Long work week, but Inter makes everything good and everything okay.
Yeah,
That's all I've got to say. How about
seemingly
you? How
so
you
these
doing?
days. Yeah, seemingly so. I think we have a lot of reasons to be happy. We'll get over it. I think it's been a great week, another great week regarding Inter. Even if the week's rough, even if there's things going on, Inter right now is holding it down. I said this to one of my friends earlier this week. Like, yeah, man, it was great. We'll get into all the games, but first, before we do that, Sean, if you want to let people know where they can find us and what they should be doing.
Yeah, of course. You guys know the drill. If this is your first time listening to us, welcome. But always go ahead, hit the subscribe button so you can get notified whenever that we post our podcasts. You got to hit the bell icon, of course, if you're going to do that. Um, you can follow us on X or formerly Twitter at interx_extra, and then on Instagram, also there. In all of those places, you'll find our links to everything. So if you want to follow us on the podcasting platforms as well, that would be great. Make sure that you leave us a like on this video, 5-star rating if you're listening to it on your podcasting platforms. Please retweet if you came from Twitter. And yeah, just make sure that you leave your comments down below, any ideas and thoughts that you have for us in the comments or in the reviews, whatever you want. Just be kind. But yeah,
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 I say we get into the games. I would say we start with the women's team. I believe they had another game,
yes,
so we'll get into that. But again,
they
obviously under
do.
23s, sorry, under 23s, no more games. I don't think they've had any friendlies. So just before we get into the other teams, they are, I think, done now for now. So yeah, just
Yeah,
wanted to throw that out there.
yeah. I mean, yeah, and we can mention some things about some of those players being split, but I would imagine that those players are going to be some of them are going to fill in to the squad for the senior team for the last couple of games of the season.
Yes.
Hopefully. Um, but yeah, the women's team um finishing up their season this weekend, which is great. They secured second with a, let's see, no, it was already out of reach for Juventus, but they played a 3-3 draw against Juventus. And you won't believe, but all of the goals came in the first half. It was 6 goals in the first half. Inter scored two within the first 10 minutes, a second minute goal, and then an equalizer, an own goal for Juventus, an Inter own goal scored for
Or
Juventus,
Juventus,
equalized.
yes.
10th minute goal for Inter, and then a 28th minute penalty for Juventus, 2-2, 3-2 pen for Inter. And then at the end of the first half, in the 45th plus 6th minute, and another equalizer from Juventus. And then the second half went stale. So if anyone caught that game, you were in for fireworks at the start of that game. But I'm sure that was a lot of fun to watch for the neutrals. So it was, yeah, it's great. I mean, up against a tough opponent, Juventus invests in both their senior team, their U23 team, the Primavera, and their women's team. So, as another powerhouse in Italy, as Inter are trying to be, right there with them, this is a good result. Of course, you want to win against that club, but yeah, I can't
Yes.
complain about that. So, yeah,
Yeah, and then
a lot of fireworks.
we'll get into the Primavera, who today had their final match of the regular season, and it could have even been the final match of the season, full stop, but it wasn't. So they beat Genoa Primavera 2-1 away from home. Here you have Amanzuin in that away kit. And he also scored. He scored the second goal. So Inter went up 2-0 in the first half, I believe. The first goal came from Matthias Mancuso, right? We talked about last week as well, and also what we talked about in
Mhm.
the video just before. And yeah, he scored a goal. He scored a header after an assist from Zuin, and then Zuin scored himself. And yeah, they managed to secure the playoff spot thanks to Juventus beating Atalanta. Juventus had nothing to play for. They just beat Atalanta for the fun of it and managed to kick them out of the the sixth place. So Bologna and Roma won anyway, so that doesn't really make a difference. It was between Inter and Atalanta, and yeah, Juve came through. Shout out to Juventus, only in this case. But yeah, they will be playing. We'll get into it, but they'll be playing the first playoff game next week, Friday. And yeah, and again, another. I watched this game. Obviously, they had the the four different games all up on the Sport Italia channel, and it was so I didn't manage to watch the whole game, but from what I saw, a solid performance, especially defensively. Did concede a goal in the second half, but held on to the 3 points which were needed. I don't think actually on goal difference it would have been enough with a draw, but still, you want to hold on to that win. So yeah, the season's not over for them, which is great to see, and they have everything in their own hands. So shout out to the boys.
Yeah. Yeah, it was exciting to see that. I watched the Sport Italia channel for just a little bit and caught some of that, but I really want to watch the extended highlights if they have any in the Inter YouTube page, um, because yeah, we've talked about it for a while, but that attacking front, um, especially Kukulis, who's going to probably take over that starting spot for the Primavera next season as the
Yes.
first team. It's the first striker, first name on the list there. Um, Mancuso, incredible season this season and playing wherever he's asked to play. Um, I have really high hopes for him. Huge stock in him, but this Primavera team is full of exciting talent. So I'm glad that they have a couple more games this season that they just get to continue to play. You know, it's all about playing the game. So every game that they get to play, you know, every additional, I should say, a game that they get to play is always so nice. So
Yeah. And then I think we can move on to the first team now.
yeah, yeah, wow, 5 goals scored against the same team. So after already wrapping up the Scudetto last week against Parma, which was incredible, great to celebrate that, we went to Rome and we stayed for 4 days and we came out 3-0 victors at the weekend. And then Christian Chivu, the PE teacher, the one that was supposed to be gone by rival fans apparently by October, by some Inter fans in December or January, this guy led this club to its third ever domestic double, joining Roberto Mancini and Jose Mourinho as the only coaches to do that with Inter. If you go look up and search for Chivu on Nima's friend of the show, Nima's Twitter page, you'll see all of the list of the firsts that he is and some of like the records that he broke by winning this double. It was an incredible, calm, controlled performance from minute 1 to minute 90. I don't think that Lazio would have scored if we played for 270 minutes on Wednesday alone. It was incredible. Complete domination this week in both games. 3-0 at the weekend, 2-0 in the Coppa Italia final. Whew, for these 2 badges next season. It's gonna be great.
Correct.
I'm loving it. I'm just cheesing.
Do you wanna mention anything on the game or on any of the games like specifically in terms of like within
Um,
the games?
well, I'll just say with Lautaro Martinez coming back, our captain coming back, led the charge in both games. Only guy that scored in both games. Um, yeah, it's he was super important to come back right then at that time and get some minutes in the last game so that he could lead the team for the Coppa Italia final. So shout out to our captain. Um, and Yeah, Marcus Thuram continuing good form. I know he didn't score in the Coppa Italia final, but still important and still dangerous in both games. So, yeah, I don't know. Just everybody. I'm so glad about everybody. But and one more name. Sorry if I'm stepping on your toes and some of the guys you want to mention. But Josep Martinez coming in 2 clean sheets in a row against Lazio and putting some doubts into the management's heads about who should be our goalkeeper next season, but we'll definitely get into that later.
We will. I was about to say that. We definitely will. There's a lot to talk about regarding that. I have some tweets pulled up here, hence why I asked you first, because I have a lot of tabs open, you guys. You guys can't see it, but that has to be the most tabs I've ever had open for a podcast. So we kind of need to be like I don't want to say we're gonna rush through everything today, guys, but I do want to mainly just skip through these tweets that I have ready to for us to update you guys. But and if you just want to say something, you just interrupt me. But the first tweet I have here is President Marotta smiling at his phone. I wonder what was on there. There's some interesting replies that I will not show. That you guys can go look for yourselves. What people thought he was seeing on his phone, but it's not Nico Paz. It's definitely not. I don't think that's realistic. But he definitely, had a reason to smile at his phone, which is great. So that was in the game on the weekend. Obviously, again a 3-0 win. Very delighted. I thought Sucic was great. I thought Lautaro was great. Mkhitaryan's retirement tour is going incredibly well. And yeah, a great win on the weekend, which was convincing for me. Also looking forward to Wednesday. And then Wednesday was also convincing. But before I get on to Wednesday, I want to shout out Mattia Mosconi for his senior debut. Well overdue. And he finally managed to get a few minutes. Again, it's only like here, bro, damn minutes, but it's minutes, you know. And the fact that he got them this season still is very happy. I'm very happy for him. Had a chance as well to run that goal, slightly overhit it, but the ball was bouncing a little awkwardly, so I'll allow him. But yeah, good to. He was also very happy on Instagram. He wrote a whole paragraph, very emotional for the fact that he got his senior debut. So yeah,
Yeah, and
shout
out
out
of
to him.
position as well.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
if anybody wanted to know, he's a right-sided player, left-footed. So
And they played him
no, he did
as
well.
a behind the striker on the left. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
slightly.
but seriously, it really was here, bro. Damn minutes.
Yeah, like it.
Just
You could tell that because uh, in on my timeline and also in the group chat we were saying like the whole time looking out for who's warming up. You know, is Mosconi warming up? Is Cocky warming up? Because really and truly, there was nothing to play for on that Saturday. It was literally
no.
just a kickabout. You might as well throw in like 5 or 6 of the under 23 guys, and then we didn't even see an under 23 guy because Mosconi's technically Primavera, right? So you
Yeah.
can't even count that. So
Yeah.
it's disappointing. I hope in the last 2 games, probably not in the home match because it's going to be like, oh, you want to win in the title celebrations. But in the last 2 games, we should just be playing the youngsters, man.
Yeah.
So,
Look,
but
all of those guys can come on for the last 10 minutes, like the senior squad members. Like you play 5 U23
yeah,
players, you
yeah.
snub them all off. You get the senior guys all on the pitch at the same
Acerbi,
time when the
Sommer,
final whistle
Damian
blows.
can all say goodbye.
Yeah.
Mkhitaryan, they can all wave to the fans whilst they're playing the last 10 minutes. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you don't need to start them. And then,
No.
but in between those 2 games, there was a funny moment. We didn't report about this because I don't know how true this was. But Marcus Thuram suffered an injury in training, and he was at serious risk for the Coppa Italia final. I know you're shaking your head. And then apparently the next day he was totally fine and participated in training like nothing was wrong. There was rumors, guys, and again it was only rumors from again sources that I don't know if it was cited before, that this was used to find the leak in the Inter staff who was leaking the certain news that you just hear sometimes about like injuries and whatnot. And apparently this was used to figure out who it is. And Chivu said that it was said that Chivu found it was in the medical staff someone, and they're gonna fire him at the end of the season, which is hilarious. So again, I don't know how true this is, but he was fit basically for the final, started and everything, but almost played 90 minutes. So clearly there was nothing, which makes me believe that these rumors there was something to it. Also, a rumor was that we can get a silver star on the Coppa Italia badge, and apparently that's also wrong because president said that the regulations don't allow it, which is a shame. I would love to have the star. Hopefully they can make that work somehow. But yeah, it would be pretty cool. I don't know if any other
Put it
team.
on your website. Just put it on the Inter store website. I'll buy it. I'll pay
Yeah,
an extra $10 to put it on the shirt. Don't worry about it. Just
I
let us have it if
I
you
have
can't put it on the game
yeah
day shirt.
I have someone that does like custom embroidery stuff. I'll just have my friend do that for me, and
Yeah.
then stitch it onto the shirt. I don't care. But is there any team that has more than 10 Coppa Italia titles?
Just Juventus.
Just Juventus, right? So I don't know if they ever did it. I don't think so. So
They apparently they declined to do it out of protest because of when they won their 10th Coppa Italia was I think it was post Calciopoli.
oh,
And so
so we don't actually know what would happen.
they were angry and pissy and things. So
Okay, we'll have to see. I would love this. Maybe they can work something out. And then
yeah.
yeah, this is some of the trophy pictures, guys. I was again just like with the Scudetto. I was over the moon, celebrating until late again, especially because Chivu has his well-deserved double and domestic double, like you said earlier, in an elite circle of managers, rightfully so. And I'm just very happy for him, especially all the doubters and stuff. This was Lautaro won. I don't know what this is, but he won something. And then also Denzel won man of the match. Very delighted about the award. And then here's the man himself too. I need to edit the Inzaghi meme where he was holding up three fingers, cut one off, and then change put like a horribly edited sticker of Kivu above his face. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. I should do that for the
It's
thumbnail,
gonna have
guys.
to be that.
I
Yeah, it's
should do
gonna
that for the
have to.
thumbnail. What do we think? So yeah, I think he's definitely shown everyone, at least by now, that this is yeah, he's here to stay. And we'll get into that later as well. And then we have the OG squad, I guess you could say. Damian, De Vrij, Barella, Lauti, and Bastoni, who have now won three of each. So three Scudetti, three Coppa Italia, and three Supercoppa Italiane, as Barella put it here. Yeah, man. These are the
Yeah.
OGs. Hopefully
Yeah,
only...
been here for 7 years.
Yes, correct. Hopefully only
They've
Damian
all been here
leaves.
for at least 7 years, which is
Yep.
incredible.
Yep. No, Damian hasn't been... Damian joined in 2020, no? Or was it 2019?
Well,
I'm slow.
we won the league in 2021.
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, that makes sense. But still, he counts in that
So
like trio.
so this is the end of his 6th season, I
Correct.
guess.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but still, he's in that elite circle. So shout out to those guys, and then shout out to Denzel Dumfries' kids who were running around with his Man of the Match award, and the fans were celebrating with them.
hmm
Very adorable.
Yeah.
And I would also like him to stay, also just because you can tell him and his family feel at home. So yeah, it was great to see.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that's everything on the games. Unless you want to mention something else on the games and on the titles. Again, this is not our main focus of the podcast, but if you want to say anything else, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think we showed it all. Yeah, just everybody is in high spirits right now, and we've got a lot of good news coming out. So I'm waiting for the hammer to drop because it's a little too positive at the moment, and I'm skeptic. I'm a skeptic of positivity.
Yeah,
So
like, do you know when you see too many positive things, they're like, something's wrong. This can't all be going
yeah,
right. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like Auxilio's cooking something negative in the background. You know.
yeah, yeah,
We're
exactly.
gonna see how it unfolds, but I want to start with a lone watch. Shout out to Luca Di Maggio, who scored a brace for Padova in a 4-3 win over Cesena. I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the podcast because I don't know if this was May 9th. It might have been on the podcast. Maybe I'm wrong. If it wasn't, then great. If it was, then here it is again. He scored 2 goals and had some good stats. His first brace in senior football. And then we're gonna talk about some of the World Cup squad announcements. So first of all, every team had to submit a secret preliminary list of 55 players and exactly 4 goalkeepers within those 55 players to FIFA on May 11th, I believe, or May 10th. And a few countries were happy to publish them. You did not have to, but you were allowed to. Mainly the South American teams did that. And Lauti and Carlos Augusto were included in both Argentina and Brazil. Luis Enrique not included in Brazil, which doesn't really surprise me. Even though they kind of have a problem at right wing back, but still, apparently Ancelotti just doesn't see him. Carlos Augusto, however, I can reveal, we didn't tweet about this, but I can reveal that he is very close to making the final squad for Brazil, which would be great. And especially at the left wing back position as well. They have Abner, who I believe is at Lyon, or he used to play for Lyon or something like that. And then all they have is Alexandro in 2026. So really and truly, again, I know he hasn't been the greatest with the Brazilian national team, but he should be there at least as a backup. So I think
we'll see what Ancelotti plays, what system he plays. So
yeah. I mean, he's gonna have Neymar back. Obviously, that is a huge factor. And if he does intend on starting him, then you kind of have to, adjust your system a little bit anyway. So I feel like Carlos Augusto would be a great addition to that squad. And then obviously Lautaro is going to be part of it, 99.9%. So that is in terms of South American teams. And then shout out to, we mentioned him last week, Ange-Joan Boni, who made the squad for the Ivory Coast, surprisingly, instead of, or, someone who was left out is Sebastien Haller, who, is on standby, which is interesting. But that attacking force is something. Amad Diallo, Oumar Diakité, Yann Diomande, Evan Gesson, Nicolas Pepe, Simon Adingra. That is an attack. I'm not saying France level, but it's not far off. That is a sick stacked squad. Also in defense, also in midfield.
So young.
Yeah,
it's so young.
They have a lot to be excited about. Alban Lafont and goal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see them going very far in the World Cup. So Bonnie slots right in there. 2-man step up front with Evan Gesson. I'm ready for that. So definitely very excited for him, and I feel like he can have an impact and be a starter. I don't know if they have any friendlies beforehand for him to maybe prove himself and cement himself a little starting spot as much as he can. But that's the squad for the Ivory Coast, and he's part of it. I'm actually going to look this up if they have any friendlies, or maybe you can if you want. And then in terms of France, Marcus Thuram is part of the French squad as expected. Benjamin Pavard is not, also as expected. And the interesting part about France is that they didn't call up the top scorer of the French league, Le Paul, who scored 20 goals for Stade Rennes, and he's not there. And probably would have been swapped with Mateta or Thuram. But Thuram obviously had a great finish to the season, so it makes sense why he's there. I'm also very happy for Magnus Akliouche, who obviously has been linked with Inter in the past, especially last summer. So I'm happy he's there. And then, it's just a stacked squad. We don't need to talk about it. Camavinga dropped for Rabiot. Listen, guys, we know what it is at this point. But, happy for Marcus to make it. I don't know if you found the friendlies.
I did, and it actually includes both of the teams you just mentioned. France and Côte d'Ivoire are going to play each other on June 4th.
Oh, yeah. Is that the only friendly?
That is the Ivory Coast's only friendly.
Interesting. Most teams have 2, so that's...
Yeah,
so he's going to have an interesting time in that friendly then.
Yeah, France has another one against Northern Ireland, but the Ivory Coast has only scheduled France.
Maybe they'll have another one. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then I want to shout out Inter under-17 forward Mardi Marlout. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm bad with North African names, but he is part of the under-17 squad for Algeria in the under-17's AFCON. So shout out to him. He signed in the winter or last summer, I forgot. But he plays for Inter under-17 and also I think started or played a few minutes already in the under-18s, if I'm not mistaken. But he is called up for Algeria under-17. He also gave an assist already, from what I saw. So, good for him. And then, that's basically the call-ups. Again, we'll update you guys on they're gonna be rolled out over the next 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks are gonna be the final announcements in terms of which Inter players make it, which Inter players or which teams, national teams, we should look out for as Inter fans at the World Cup. And then yeah, aside from you, the US, and for me, Austria, obviously, will be supporting the Inter players as they play in the World Cup. And then, yeah, we'll get into transfers. Before that, I have a quote, or not really a quote, but kind of, by Pasquale Guaro, who said that Inter's transfer strategy will be clear by the end of the month. For now, the idea is to keep Pepe Martinez as a first-choice goalkeeper in order to save funds and use them elsewhere for more expensive operations. Now, I don't know what will be clear means by the end of the month in terms of the transfer strategy. I don't know what that means in terms of we're going to know exact names. I don't think it will be leaked to the media, but I think they just mean internally they'll know what they want to do. I think they just want to watch Martinez, especially in those last 2 games, and then yeah, just go from there. I think that's what they're gonna do. But since he did mention Martinez, this is the current update, or the latest update, I guess, by Daniele Mari. He's getting closer to overtake Vicario in the race for Inter's #1 next season. Very well deserved. I think we don't need to talk about this. We saw the performances against Lazio on Saturday and on Wednesday. He, again, just keeps proving why he deserves to stay, especially after the difficult time he's had this season, with the accident and all of the things going on. I think we can very much say that, he's bounced back stronger and, yeah, cemented himself.
Yeah. And this is the perfect time to do our weekly Tottenham update.
Yes, I was about to say that. Thank you.
West Ham lost to
Yeah.
Arsenal last weekend, and Tottenham drew to Leeds, which means that they are now 2 points ahead of West Ham United in 17th. So again, with Martinez's improved performances and convincing the management, as well as Tottenham looking more secure and staying in the Premier League, the chance of Vicario is going down the drain right now, and I could not be happier.
Yeah, I was a bit concerned, especially because the West Ham match, you expect West Ham to lose against Arsenal, even though they should have gotten a draw out of it, if you guys know the VAR decision that was made, compared to what Arsenal got away with for the whole other, basically every other game of the season.
Yep.
But Tottenham drawing against Leeds is disappointing, regardless of the fact that they gained a point on West Ham. And then Tottenham obviously have a tough game with Chelsea next. So it's not going to be easy, but they have the 2 points ahead right now. So in my opinion, they should be good. But we'll be back next week to give you guys the next update on Tottenham's Tottenham versus West Ham relegation update. Tottenham this week, whatever you guys want to call it. So Tottenham Watch. That's what we're going to call it, Tottenham Watch, or Vicario Watch. I think that's a better hashtag. We should do that on one of the tweets, just ironically. Just put Vicario Watch. Tottenham
Vicario
lost.
Watch. Yeah.
But no, it's going to be something to keep an eye on, but obviously just for fun. I think Martinez is going to cement himself as the #1 goalkeeper, and I think we won't have much else to talk about. We do have a name to talk about, though, regarding... I don't know if this is probably a backup option or if they're just having him on the list, but what we talked about 2 weeks ago, Mio Backhaus, the German goalkeeper for Werder Bremen, he is confirmed to be on Inter's list. Now, I read up on this on the German Sky Sport, which who are saying that there's a few teams interested: Milan, Brighton, Newcastle, Freiburg, and I don't know why this isn't here, but Leverkusen are also interested. And yeah, he's 21, has a contract until 2028, and they need to sell. Bremen need to sell players, so that's why they're being linked with he's probably being offered to Inter more than anything. I think that's what's going on here, if I had to guess. But he's a name on the list. I don't think he would just be backup at Inter. I think Filip Stankovic is the more sensible option in this case. I think it makes a lot more sense. Also for his career, he's young. You don't want to be sitting on Inter's bench.
Yeah, you don't want to be 21 and sitting the bench.
I think he's like a vice Vicario in terms of the order of the list. I think, if you get what I mean. I don't think he's the first choice, so he's just probably there. And plus, he has Premier League interest, so if a Brighton comes in, Bremen are not going to say no.
He's going.
He's going for a high value. And then we move on to centre backs, guys. Now, I am very happy. Again, before I say anything, this is all assuming that Oumar Solé has no legal issues whatsoever. Again, we'll talk about him more in the coming weeks, so I just want to say this now before I repeat myself every week. I wholeheartedly hope that he has done nothing wrong and that it's just a case that needs to be looked at in court and then everything's fine. Same with similar to Goodmanson. Again, I also want to say, even if the case is dropped, it doesn't mean he's innocent. We've seen this a lot of the times, especially also in the football world, right? With certain players that I don't want to name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. The fact that we haven't seen or heard much about it makes me more positive. But I would also not want, like, if there's anything that turns out to be true about the allegations, I would not want this guy anywhere near my club. Okay?
Yeah.
But if this is sorted out and and there's no evidence and he's cleared, welcome to Inter, Oumar Solé. He said he only wants Inter. He has interest from the Premier League and Ligue 1, but he's waiting for the Scudetto winners. Now, mind you, Premier League interest to deny that and to wait for Inter. How many times have we seen this recently? Not a lot. This is, again, we don't know what Premier League teams. I don't know if Gianluigi Longari knows. But regardless, he has been advocating for this and saying that this is getting close as long as his legal issues are sorted out. Speaking of him, Pasquale Guaro mentioned that there's a price tag of a minimum of 25 to 26 million and that Christian Chivu prefers him over Tarek Muremovic. Do you want to add anything on Solé, first of all?
No, not really. You mentioned, of course, like, yeah, all of the things off the pitch about him that, not condoning any of that kind of behavior, of course.
Of course.
But as I think, Kivu's right to prefer him over Muremovic, not only in the versatility of Solé, but his ceiling in any position that he plays in a back four as a center back or as a back three and a center back and a back three, right, left, center. I think his ceiling is higher than Muremovic's, which would only be center of the defense, in my opinion.
Yes.
Like Muremovic is a pure center back. That's where he will thrive the most. He's left-footed, so he could play on the left, and he can play in a back four, right? But he's going to thrive as a center back. But Solé doesn't matter. He's going to thrive on the right the most, in my opinion. But when it comes down to it, he's going to be better at all three, in my opinion. So I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this before. If I didn't, then I'm going to say it now. Attacking wise, especially, Solé is miles ahead of Muremovic. I'm not saying Muremovic is terrible in passing or like forward runs, but Solé is that type of like, Bissek type of player or Bastoni type of player that can just get involved in the attack and he doesn't look out of place. Like some of the solo goals we've seen Solé score even. Again, I don't know if he's going to do that at Inter, but like he literally just dribbles through people with his body type and his frame is genuinely beyond me how he does it. But yeah, so
yeah,
that's a big factor, and then obviously the limitation of, or I guess the versatility of Solé over the limitations of Muremovic's positioning or positions. Yeah, it just makes sense. But on Muremovic, apparently, according to Nicolas Riera, there's an agreement in principle. Now, we've heard this a month ago from Matteo Moretto, but he has details. So he says a contract until 2031, which is a 5-year contract, and a salary of 2.2 million a year. The next step is to reach a deal with Sassuolo, whom they offered a loan plus obligation to buy, which would be, I think, triggered after the first point starting February 2027. That's, I think, the formula. And then also, a day before, it was a name was thrown out for a swap deal, which was Mattia Mosconi, who could become a part of the deal. I would personally only do this if there was a buyback clause included, or at least a hefty sell-on clause to be able to get him back for cheaper. But that is the kind of stuff we talked about in the video that we recorded earlier, which you guys are going to see on Sharma's channel tomorrow. It's the kind of club I would see Mosconi thrive at if he was to take that big step to Serie A now. Again, because I would rather have Sole, I don't want this to happen, but I still want to know your opinion on the possibility.
Yeah, I think it's good. You need numbers if you're going to play back three. You're going to need numbers to fill in. We're losing Darmian, De Vrij, and De Cherby if everything goes like the reports are saying. So, it's important to get numbers. And again, he can play centrally. He can play on the left. He can play in a back four, which means for the future, it's you can start to change formation. He has impressed me more at the end of the season than he did at the beginning of the season. So, if you get Sole as well with Muaremovic, I like both of them coming. I think that's good, right? You let Muaremovic grow instead of needing him to fill in and start, which I was skeptical of. So, yeah, it's not a bad idea.
The problem I have is in my opinion it relates to Carlos Augusto's renewal. Because if you renew Carlos Augusto, you're going to have to guarantee him playing time. The only way you guarantee Augusto playing time is if you have him as the backup for Di Marco and Bastoni. But if you bring in Muremovic, Sole, and keep De Vrij, then you have Akanji, Bisek, De Vrij, Bastoni, Sole, and Muremovic. You have 6 top centre-backs. And you push Carlos Augusto as the backup to Di Marco. That's what I would do. But if you have that scenario, then you have 6 centre-backs and 3 of them aren't going to play. And so I feel like that would be an overkill, almost. So to me, if we sign both, you have to sell De Vrij. But I want to keep De Vrij for another season. So in my opinion, we should only sign one. That's my personal opinion. I would just go for Sole. And then if De Vrij really doesn't get his contract extension, then you bring in Muremovic. But then, like I said, you have the issue of maybe someone becoming unhappy. I feel like Bisek is too good to be benched on a regular basis. Akanji obviously too good to be benched on a regular basis. Muremovic as well. So that's my take on that. But we'll have to see how that plays out again.
And there's some other news that I'm sure that we'll talk about later that kind of ties all this together. But we've definitely talked about De Vrij having interest abroad, Netherlands and Portugal. So
yeah,
that might be where, you lose 3 center backs, you bring in 2, you have 5 now. So it really, you're right. It does. It depends on what the management's
even if we do
choice
lose
there
De
with
Vrij,
center backs.
I feel like De Vrij deserves a chance to be like the main central centre back for one season, especially because I think he's good enough, and because if it doesn't work out, you can always bring in Sole, and it's not a downgrade. So I just feel like because he's been stuck behind Acerbi and then Skriniar beforehand for a while, I feel like he deserves it. Again, not to be too romantic, but De Vrij is still a very good centre back, guys. I think the performances this season confirm this. And yeah, I would love to see it. But if not, then and you only have 5 centre backs, that's also fine with me. Because then even if Carlos Augusto wants to play more left wing back, you can bring someone in like Alexio from the under 23s. Exactly what the under 23 squad is there for. But we'll have to wait and see. I don't want to be around the bush too much about it. Someone who's not linked or who's not going to come to Inter is Ruben Dias, who was linked with Inter. There was some rumors somewhere, and then Fabrizio Romano kind of cleared it up and said, look, there's nothing there. Because he's a key player in City's dressing room, he's not going anywhere. So that's not happening. And then on Manu Kone, we haven't mentioned him in a while. There was a scout present at the Parma-Roma game last weekend, which was... or was it on Monday? Or was it Sunday? I'm not sure. But basically, yeah, it was Sunday. But he remains the club's top midfield target, which is interesting because the words of Pasquale Guerrero kind of go against that. And he says Curtis Jones remains Inter's top midfield target for the summer. I was kind of laughing when I saw that because I was like, wait, wasn't it Manu Kone? So I guess the journalists aren't really on the same wavelength. But he also says that work is underway to bring a player with the characteristics similar to Nico Paz. I like again, I would prefer. I think we said this last week. I would prefer Manu Kone over Curtis Jones. I know we've had
Mhm.
some people argue against that. I still stand by it. I still say Manu Kone is a better player than Curtis Jones, and
Absolutely.
is also going to the World Cup, mind you. Curtis Jones, I'm not sure if he's going to the World Cup actually. And yeah,
In a much tougher squad to make,
yeah, in a French
mind
squad that
you.
France's midfield is arguably their worst position out of defense, midfield, and attack, but still,
There's
still
like
need to
only
make
four
the
or
French
five
squad.
slots for them
Yeah, exactly.
because
Like
they play a 10. They play Griezmann, they play
they only need two
Akliouche, they
DMs.
play
Yeah,
Cherki. Yeah, you only need two, and then the backups for them. So again, yeah, it might not be their best, but yeah, Kamavinga, Chouameni, Kone, Rabiot. Like it's a tough team to make. So
yeah,
yeah, Kone is for sure a better player in my opinion.
yeah. And then I don't know when the England squad gets released, but we'll probably touch back on the next week if Curtis Jones is called up. Because also, uh, we know the World Cup is a huge thing in terms of influencing the summer transfer window. We don't need to explain that to you guys. It's always been this way. And so whether or not someone gets to show themselves at the World Cup will heavily depend or influence their price. So we'll see if Curtis Jones is included in the England squad, and then if he is, we don't know how much he's going to play. But that's everything for incomings, guys. We're going to go on to outgoings. Jan Bissek is a situation to watch, according to Gianluigi Longari, who said that he has interest from Bayern Munich. It's not the first time we've heard that, right? And also a significant market in the Premier League. Now, this doesn't surprise me because he's had a great second half of the season, but I would make him untouchable. Same as Pio, same as Sucic. He has a long future ahead of him at Inter, in my opinion. I don't know if you want to
Um,
add to that.
I'm gonna disagree just a little bit. Not that I think he should go, but like Pio would, they would bring in a lot of capital gains, a lot of plusvalenza there,
Yeah.
because he was only 7 million transfer. He's been paid off completely. Like that fee's been paid off completely. Um, the When it comes to Jan Bisek, I believe that there's a huge market in the Premier League for him. Um, when bringing in Solé and Muaremovic, how much time is he going to continue to get because he wants to make the Germany squad? A lot, right? He really wants to make that team. And he's gotten it this second half of the season. We'll see if he makes it, and we'll see if
I
his
think he
price
does.
increases if he makes it. So do I. I mean, I don't think that there's that many better center backs in Germany than he is. Um, but it's it's almost he's 26 or is he 25?
I think he's 25.
So he'd be entering into his prime years as an athlete. Um, a little bit later is when you mature as a center back. Is it time to get the most value out of him? Right. And do you think that you have a Kanji, you have Muremovic, and so you would just need someone that truly backs up those players, right? You have your vice Bastoni with Augusto. You have your vice center back with Muremovic, whether it's a Kanji or Solé that plays in the middle. You have a Kanji and Solé that can play on the right. And so you would just need someone that fills that gap on who's the vice Akanji, vice Solé on the right side.
Well, I guess you could
And
sell him if you say you keep the Bry and then bring in Sole and Muranovic.
that as well.
But then, isn't it just a swap? Do you get what I'm saying? Like you might as well just sign one player and keep Bissek. But I understand your plus Valenza argument in terms of you sign him for 6 million, 6.5 million, and you can make however much Premier League clubs would pay. We know they would come up with like 50,
Yeah.
60 million. But this is my thing as well. I'm not fully against selling him. I said we should make him untouchable. If someone comes with like, I would say 60 million, again, that's in this market is not crazy to say. for 60 million, go to like Brighton, go to Newcastle, go wherever you want to go, right?
Yeah, Newcastle. I mean, it depends. How much does Tottenham make, and how much do their center backs want to leave? Right, Van de Ven wants to leave really badly right now.
Yeah,
Guti Romero might want to leave. I mean, that's a World Cup winner that's fighting for relegation in the Premier
yeah,
League. How much is he say? So Tottenham might have a lot of moves in defense that they have to make, right? And he would come in and he'd be starting immediately. Um, it's yeah, it's one to look out for. I wouldn't hate losing him. You're saying 60, I would say 50, right? It's good value because you then cover both center backs that you've brought in, right? One out, two in. Excellent
yeah,
just finances there. So
yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, if he
yeah.
stays, you've got continuity and a player that's been growing this second half of the season. If he goes, you're going to get good value for him.
I think I'm a lot of a bigger fan than you on it, but that's fine. That's just my personal like. Again,
Yeah.
I feel a lot like he has a lot of time left at Inter, but yeah, I was completely forgetting that I was still on the Twitter screen. So on centre backs, there has been a report that Benjamin Pavard, we mentioned this last week, wants to return, like is going to return from his loan to Marseille, and is going to be sold. According to Di Marzio, he wants to prove himself and stay at Inter. But as we reported last week, the club intends to sell the defender, so obviously something's not right. I think, yeah, the quote is right here. Christian Chivu does not want Benjamin Pavard. I love the way Thomas worded this, or Pascal Aguero said this, whichever way. He was the one who chose to push for the defender to leave Inter last summer. There were issues between the two. I don't know if this is him playing paddle during the Club World Cup or whatever the problem
I would
was.
imagine so.
But it's definitely probably played a part in it. And obviously Akanji worked out better than a lot of people expected. So yeah, we all know why.
Ship him to the giant storm on Jupiter. He does not have a future at this club. I don't care what he wants.
You can definitely sell him regardless of his mediocre season with Marseille. I think you can still get some money out of him, especially because he has 2 or 3 years left on his contract. So much on that. We'll see what happens with that, but he's obviously not staying, guys. Hopefully you guys realize that. And then on Aleksandar Stankovic, so onto midfielders, Inter have a 40 million offer from a Premier League side on the table for Aleksandar Stankovic. Most Inter fans are saying keep. The ones that are saying sell, and the journalists that are saying sell, also to fund Nico Paz. I'm sorry, I do not understand. We are saying that people are talking about you're gaining funds for Nico Paz. Are you actually though? You're buying Stankovic back for 23 million, and then you're selling him for 40. You're making 17 million.
17 million.
You know what 17 million is? That's free Sebastiano Espositos. That you can make those 17 million somewhere else. I'm just trying to put it into like context.
Yeah,
exactly.
No. That isn't enough to get Andy Doof.
Yeah, no,
That's
exactly.
What that is.
You might as well sell Andy Doof then for 20 million. Then you have your 20 million.
Yeah.
We're talking, guys. Sorry, I'm getting a bit like annoyed here because we're looking at this. This is why people only look at numbers and then don't even do simple basic mathematics in their head. Right? 40 million is not 40 million. You buy him for 23 million, so you leave with 17 million profit. This is a Nikola Zalewski situation. And even Nikola Zalewski's flip made more sense because he wasn't as essential as Stankovic is going to be next season, in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
If you sell Andy Diouf and get rid of the whole 7th midfielder nonsense, play under 23 kids during the time where you need a 7th midfielder, and bring Aleksandar Stankovic in. Problem solved. Sell Andy Diouf for 20 million and your issues are solved.
You have potentially 5 midfielders leaving in the next 2 seasons. And you don't want Dejan Stankovic's kid, who bleeds black and blue, who calls Christian Chivu their uncle, to be at this club. There's something wrong there. We just saw how knowing what this club is about and being a winner matters to being at Inter, right? You're going to lose in the next 2 seasons, and I'm hoping that we have many years of positive outcomes and views on these players and they perform really well, but you're losing Mkhitaryan. Well, I don't want anything positive to do with him, but you lose Mkhitaryan this summer, selling Davide Fratesi this summer. You could lose Andy Diouf, so maybe even a 6th player. Who else are you losing?
Çalhanoğlu.
Apology. You're going to lose Çalhanoğlu maybe this summer or next summer.
Yeah.
Zinsky's contract expires 2028, so that would be, or 2027, I think. So that would be the next summer, right? You're going to be left with Barella and Sucic. You've got to bring in some fresh blood still, right?
Yeah.
You still need to protect the future of the midfield, which is why they're also looking for Curtis Jones and Manu Kone, right? Because you have to look not just this summer, another year ahead, right? Stankovic could stay here for 8 to 10 years if he comes back, right? It doesn't make sense unless it's 100+ million. Then you're actually making a profit that could go get someone important. And you're not getting that at this moment. So it makes zero sense. It almost seems purposeful that this sale possibility at 40 million keeps getting mentioned.
I think this is what we talked about at the start in terms of something going wrong because everything looks a little bit like it's going too well. I think if Stankovic is sold, especially for a price tag like that, I think that would be something like to ruin my whole summer in terms of the transfer, in terms of just football in general. Like,
yeah,
we in terms of actually considering a sell, especially the things you listed about Stankovic, the player himself, not just romantically like, oh, he's the son of Stan. Like, this is a player. I don't think you guys realize. Go watch his highlights. Go watch the goals he scores. How many times are we going to get the opportunity to replace Çalhanoğlu in terms of goal scoring from Register? How many times?
Yeah.
Right? It's
21 years old, played in the Champions League, plays senior football in the top 10
he's played for 10 years.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's a no-brainer.
You're not getting this player for that price, right?
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Hence
Luis
why I'm
Enrique
saying
for 25, Andy Diouf for 25 million. That is what you get with 23 to 25 million nowadays. And you're telling me that you don't want Stankovic back. Club Brugge and the fans think Stankovic is better than Yashari, and Yashari just went for 40 million.
Yeah. He is a better player than Yashari, absolutely. And the thing I was going to say in terms of price tag, you do not sell Stankovic for under 90 million. I know this is crazy for a Pro League player, Belgian Pro League, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing against the Belgian Pro League, but obviously only played a few Champions League. You do not sell this guy for under 90 million, guys. And you guys can clown me in the comments all you want, but this player should be more untouchable than Pio. More untouchable than Pio. The reason, like, again, the offers can come. They can offer, like, Napoli offered whatever for Pio. Premier League clubs offered whatever. Sure, fine. But we should not even be looking at the offer. We should be pulling the phone. We should be putting the phone down the second the phone call comes in. No time for that. And
no, it was 50 million that price for Pio, and they said no, and he hadn't even played a minute of Serie A yet. That was reported.
Yeah,
and that's 50 million of a player who you've owned. That is 50 million straight plus Valenza, and they said no to. You're telling me that we're going to be happy with 17 million? Not a chance. Not a chance.
No. And that's why I'm confused by this quote Pasquale Guerrero said, in my opinion, the sale of Aleksandar Stankovic has already been planned, right? Putting this in, yeah? But nothing has been fully decided yet. Inter has 2 offers, so not just one, 2 offers from the Premier League for the midfielder, one worth 40 million. And then he also said that Inter will be practical with its market. The club is planning to stick with the 3-5-2, but wants to be flexible to be able to change to a 3-4-2-1. Nico Paz is considered the ideal difference maker, and this idea is why Inter is considering the sale of Aleksandar Stankovic. Mind you, all this talk is, in my opinion, right, with all respect to Pascal Aguero, right, great journalist, does a lot of great stuff, also with FC Inter 1908. In my opinion, is speculation. Why? We have no idea, even if Inter are interested in Nico Paz, we know that, right? It's not a secret. But we have no idea what's going to happen because we don't even know who Real Madrid's next manager is going to be. I just saw a tweet 10 minutes ago that apparently Jose Mourinho to Real Madrid is like 90% done. But we don't know what he's going to do with the player. We don't know what he's going to do with Mastantuono, with Goulet, with the whole attacking department. We have no idea. Is he going to stay another year at Como? Is Fabregas going to tie him down for another year and try and, make that work? Is he going to go back to Real Madrid? If he goes back to Real Madrid, is he staying or is he leaving? If he's leaving, how much are they demanding for him? Is it affordable for Inter even if they sell Aleksandar Stankovic for 80 million? All these questions before you can even get to considering to switch formations to adjust to Nico Paz. Which is why I can't take these type of quotes or like these arguments, the speculation serious.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm with you, 100%. It's ridiculous, and the pitchforks will be out. I will start giving everybody pitchforks to go stand outside of Auxilio's house if he does this.
No, and again, Nico Paz is a great player, but he's not Messi. We should not be sacrificing Aleksandar Stankovic just to go for Nico Paz, to go all in for Nico Paz, for a player that we're not even willing to fully switch formation for. Because clearly there's not going to be a straight up 3-4-2-1. It's going to be an option. So you're not signing Nico Paz to change formation. You're signing him because you might want to switch in some games because it suits us. Are we really signing a player just for that? No, we're not.
If you're building the team around Nico Paz, sure, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the idea of that we're sticking with a 3-5-2 that doesn't even suit Nico Paz that much at the moment. Like he would have to learn a Mezzala or kind of a second striker role.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not losing Stankovic for that. And again, like you said, we're not even certain that it's going to happen that we can get Nico Paz. So selling him on the off chance that you could have the opportunity to maybe put in a bid for a player possibly, not a chance.
Yeah. Okay, that was enough ranting, guys. Sorry about that. We're approaching the hour mark, so I'm going to try and go through the last few tweets pretty quickly. Davide Frattesi will leave Inter this summer. We already talked about this previously, but the club will consider offers from Italy and abroad. So this is, I guess, the new part of here is that offers from Italy will be considered. And last year, this was not the case because they didn't want to sell to a direct competitor. And now, obviously, Roma's interest is there. Potentially, maybe from January, what can something that can come back up is a potential swap deal. You never know what can happen for Manu Kone. And then also, a very important Bundesliga club has internally evaluated Petar Sucic as a potential reinforcement. This can only be Dortmund or Bayern, right? Fabrizio didn't name drop them, but both the player and Inter are 100% happy, and the midfielder will not leave whatsoever. I actually think this was Bayern. Because Dortmund don't really have the need. Yeah.
Well, let me check. There's only one other team that actually has the funds to pull off something like that.
Leipzig. But Leipzig wouldn't go for him. Leipzig wouldn't go for him. I don't think so. It would be a downgrade.
You don't?
It would be a downgrade.
Well, it would be a downgrade for him, but Leipzig see him. They think, well, if they accept 40 million for us, we can flip him for 80 in 2 years.
No, but Sucic is going to be a starter next season, in my opinion. So I don't see why.
I know. But that's it's on in the player side, it makes zero sense, and
Oh
Inter
yeah.
don't want to lose him, so it's not really much to talk about. But for
Hence the
Leipzig,
second line.
yeah, they see a player that they could flip 40, 50 million is what they think they can get him for, and then they're like, well, yeah, we'll sell him for the price of 80 to 90 million in a couple of years when he's
Oh
the
yeah.
best midfielder in Europe,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, yeah, it's not gonna happen, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
And then just to finish up on this, guys, or in terms of outgoings, I guess this is outgoings. This is just about money moves. Lazio, Como, Napoli, and Torino are all interested in Sebastiano Esposito. I think Cagliari have mathematically secured survival now, so I think the obligation is triggered. I don't remember what the obligation was. I think it was survival. I have no idea though. But basically, once they pay the 4 million obligation to buy in the summer, Inter have a 40% sell-on clause. So 4 million, depending on how much he goes for to a Napoli, probably like 10, 15 million. Inter will cash in about half of that. So another 7, 8 million, that's probably going to come in from that. So
Yeah, so guys, if you're wondering why it was so cheap, there you go.
yeah,
Right?
people were
So
annoyed
Inter
that it
did
was 4
value him a little
million.
bit higher, but yeah, Cagliari can't always splash the cash like other teams can. So you're getting your money on the off chance that you believe that his value will increase. So
Guys, I want to mention something because you remember last summer I was talking about why are we spending 20 million on Andrea and Boni when we have Sebastiano Esposito at home. I know a lot of people or a few people are ready to clown me because I was wrong. I don't think I really was wrong because he had a decent to good season, not just in terms of output, but also in terms of playing at a not so good Cagliari side, right? With all due respect to Cagliari.
Mhm.
Do I think he would have had the same numbers as Boni has this season? Sorry, at Inter? Probably not, but close to it, I think, if you did a straight swap. So I'm not saying
I
we shouldn't have
actually
signed Boni.
I actually think this is going to sound counterintuitive and maybe contradictory, but I think he has better numbers than Boni, but he doesn't have the same impact as Boni, if that makes
He's
sense.
a different type of
Right?
player.
Boni came into some of those games and maybe didn't score, but relieved the press, like caused problems, caused trouble for the
Yeah,
opposition, and was able to close out games as well. I don't know if Sebastiano can close out games like Boni did, and really take on players like he can,
yeah,
right? So again, completely different players. So output, Esposito would have wanted to be in the final action and had output, and so he would have had better service at Inter, while Boni has this season has been known to be the one giving,
yeah.
supplying the output. So, yeah, that's kind of why
No, no,
maybe he actually could have had better numbers, but
you're right. You're
regardless.
right. But in hindsight, that's exactly the reason why. In hindsight, I'm happy that we did sign Boni because he brings something different to this team in terms of dribbling, in terms of the player that he is. And Sebastiano Esposito wouldn't have been able to provide that. He's still a striker that, in my opinion, should have deserved a chance at some point, more than just the Club World Cup, because he's unique. He has technical ability that barely any striker in Serie A has. He can knock a ball free kicks for fun. Not that it really makes a difference, right, as a striker, but he has certain traits that you don't see a lot in strikers in world football these days. And he's stuck in a
Yeah.
Cagliari side. And obviously, there's a reason why teams like Napoli, teams like Lazio, teams like Como are interested in him, because he definitely has all the qualities to play for those type of teams. I would love to see him thrive at Napoli. I don't think he's going to Napoli to just be backup. I think he's contesting to play on a regular basis, even if it's not every game. But I think he definitely has he can play behind the striker. He can play as a lone striker.
Yep.
Very,
Just about to
very
say that.
much. Yeah. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about him, but guys, I am a big fan of him, so that's why I put this in there. And then if we get some money out of it, would be good as well. And then on some contract renewals, obviously we talked about Carlos Augusto. Some new news compared to what we heard the last few weeks is that there's basically new talks scheduled to try and find an agreement to extend the defender's contract, contrary to what we heard, because Inter is aware of the many interests across Europe and across Italy. This makes sense, right? Like you see that there's interest and you want to tie him down and make sure that, maybe you can somehow come to an agreement. I think you're also on the same page in terms of you want to keep him, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I do. I do want to keep him. He's a
We'll,
good player.
we'll see what happens with that. But again, we understand the need for playing time also in terms of Brazil. And then on Henrik Mkhitaryan, he did give an interview after the game on Saturday against Lazio. Or was it? Yeah, it was against Lazio where he scored. And then he said he'll decide after the last game. So that's the long story short. But if you guys want to read the quote, you can read it. There's also more quotes from both of the games, pre-match and post-match. If you guys want to read them, go ahead. They're all there. And then Sky Sport confirmed this. Or, well, not really confirmed this. They basically said that there's no signs that he will extend the contract or Inter will extend the contract of Henrik Mkhitaryan. Again, we've heard this, and then someone said actually maybe he's staying, and now we've heard again that actually he's leaving. He's leaving, guys. I think I don't see a scenario where he's staying, right? So I'd put like 90% on him leaving.
Please.
And same for Carlos Augusto is the case with Marcus Thuram, who is also going to have talks with Inter about extending his contract. Well deserved after he's doing a little Denzel Dumfries type of thing where he's just playing out of his skin so he can get a new contract. Yeah, good for him. And then shout out to Christian Chivu, who said on a possible formation change next season, he said, "I'll give you a hint. We'll play 5-5-5." That sounds like a plan. Marotta League in full swing. He is also ready to renew his contract. Scheduled meetings will be held soon between Oaktree and Inter, specifically on Chivu as well, but also on the transfer market. I didn't include that tweet, but there will be a meeting between the Hellas Verona game and the Bologna game, which is the last game of the season. So he'll be able to play an even bigger role in the transfer market and in identifying targets. Love that. Because he also said he wants Solé. Great. And then shout out to the Pope, who is pictured here with, everyone, basically. Caprin from Oaktree, everyone from Oaktree, Zanetti. I'm sure you're very happy about that picture.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Should be your wallpaper, no?
Yeah, things that can only happen in Italy. Oh, you think I haven't saved every photo already?
Yeah. No, great. I also saw I think Christian Chivu spoke to the president of Italy or something like that. I saw something before the Coppa Italia final. So they've been doing a few press just things to do with like meeting people and meeting important people. But that is everything I have, Sean. That is everything I have we have for you guys. I say we get into the upcoming games. There's one more game for the women, right?
Through. Yeah, one more game for the women. They play Como tomorrow. So, this is being recorded on Friday evening, and then the game is going to be at 6 p.m. Central European Time, 11 a.m. over here in Central Standard Time in the US. So the women's Como's team, not much to play for. Either team, really. So, no movement can happen between either team. The Primavera squad, of course, will play probably before we record again next time. They will be playing Cesena next Friday. Don't know the time of that yet. I believe it's going to be in the evening, though. Kind of the same time that they played today, maybe mid-afternoon.
I can check for you, but you can keep going for now.
Yeah. So, so those for those two teams. And then Inter plays Hellas Verona on Sunday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time in the US. And then that would be a 3 p.m. Central European Time start with, I think all of the matches are going to be played on Sunday because of the Italian tennis tournament at the moment. So
yes,
they're giving TV time to that instead. So, and then no extra games for Inter before next time we record.
Trophy parade is on Sunday, guys. If you are in the area I know some of my friends are going to the trophy parade. Make sure you guys check it out. If you're going to the game, if you're not going to the game, if you're in Italy, yeah.
Yeah, it is the last home game of the season. So yes, we'll be lifting up the trophy, guard of honor, the bus tour, the celebrations, both trophies, all of that's going to be happening. Yeah, after the game. So
Yeah, so time and place to be decided for the game against Cesena for the Primavera.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, that's it.
Thank you guys for listening. We are going to be back same time, same day next week, I assume, and hopefully with a win for the Primavera, hopefully with a nice trophy parade behind us, and again, hoping for some under 23 players to get minutes in the last two games, and yeah, hoping for another Pepe Martinez start. I think that's the last thing I want to get off my chest. Sean, anything else you want to say? Otherwise, you can close.
No, that is it. I'm with you on all of those things that we hope to see this week. Yeah. And thank you all for watching. Make sure that you go subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, of course. Hit that like button for us. Leave a comment down below on anything we talked about. Go follow us on Twitter if you don't already. Follow us on Instagram. Still doing some great things, getting a lot of traction over there. So it's been great. Send your congratulations to Shano over there. He's doing great stuff. And then anywhere you find your podcasting platforms, please leave us a good rating. Leave a comment for us. And of course, as always, Forza Inter Sempre.